When they talk about SB 1070, they think this is an Arizona racist thing. There's not any public high schools in Oakland that teach ethnic studies for graduation credit. There isn't. When you look in the state of California graduation requirements, there's no such thing as ethnic studies. So we already have SB 1070 here. We just don't have the name for it. We are living SB 1070 history. People don't know the history of Oakland, that it's Latino history in Oakland. They don't know that the Merritt, Laney, all of them were under Don Peralta. That's why it's called the Peralta College System. They don't know who Don Peralta was. They don't know that they're standing on Mexican land, that Laney, Merritt are all on Mexican land. They don't know about Cesar Vallejo, who was the mayor of Vallejo, and the town, the city is named after him. We don't know anything about Bay Area history, and Bay Area history is ethnic studies history. It's raza history. We're standing on raza history, but we have no clue. When we go to the movies in Emeryville, and we go to the AMC, we're standing on a Native American burial site. It's called the Shell Mound. Native Americans don't matter according to the U.S., and according to the Bay Area, and according to Emeryville. On top of your dead people, I'm going to put a mall. And that's okay, because we don't know ethnic studies in the Bay Area, not in Arizona. This is happening right here. We come from a culture that honors the dead. That's why we have El Día de los Muertos. We remember our antepasados. These are not gang tattoos. This is my abuelo Angel who took care of me. This is my abuela Socorro who took care of me. If someone put a mall on top of my ancestors, it would be the biggest form of disrespect. That's what they're doing to our history. We'll put a mall on top of it. Malcolm X said that the major or the field that's going to reward you the most in all your studies is history, because knowing where you come from and knowing who you are will allow you to place yourself in where you're going. So when you talk about ethnic studies, that is an umbrella for Latinos, African Americans, Asian Americans, Native Americans. It's the study of the other, the study of people of color. Most of us don't grow up with learning who we are, where our roots come from. So to me, it's the most important thing on a tree, because if a tree doesn't know where its roots are at, if it's not deeply, deeply entrenched, it could easily fall for anything. And I think if it were valued, for example, in the city of Oakland, young people would look at their life differently, walk differently, talk differently, because once you know who you are and what you're about, you matter. And you start taking everything much more seriously. So I think it's that important. Most of us never read a book that we can relate to. You know, you're talking about reading a book. Who's going to read about the 1840s? Heck no. But if you make it interesting, it's about our people. It's about love. It's about land. It's about what's happening with human beings. It's about raza. Then it becomes more meaningful. It can relate to us. When it matters, there's a story about my abuela and my bisabuela, and about our land and about our culture and about our costumbres. When it starts to matter, when it starts to connect to us, that's when it becomes really, really interesting. And oftentimes, I wonder if they make school boring on purpose, because they're not making a lot of new colleges. They've only made one new UC in 23 years. So I'm wondering if they don't need everybody to graduate, if they don't need everybody to go to college. And so your question, the opposite of that is, why is U.S. history so boring? Is because maybe they want certain kids to kind of tune out or drop out or get pushed out because there's no space for them in colleges. These are all the things about who you are and growing up, and that matters, and that's important. I don't think it segregates people to study that. You get to appreciate culture more, and then you find things in common. I don't know anything about the Philippines, but I didn't know that they have Spanish last names, and that they were trying to be conquered also by Spaniards, and that many are Catholic, and that many resisted and they fought back. And even from their comida to what they wear, I didn't know these things. So it didn't segregate me or separate me. By learning about another group. It brought me closer to get to know their history and their struggle and their costumbres. So now I connect more with Filipinos and I see a lot more in common. Even white people don't like history. I met poor people that happened to be white in New Orleans. They're like, I don't relate to no George Washington. I don't relate to none of this presidential history. I'm not a president. I'm hella poor. I'm living in a trailer. and I'm poor. But they're selling us a certain kind of history, like this official United States American history that's bland, that's boring, that not a lot of us can relate to. I think it's about making us all think a certain way, act a certain way, and be a certain way. And also so that we don't question things. You know, they want us to pledge allegiance. And that means that if I put my right hand over my heart, I believe in it in my heart, and I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And I do it every morning. Why do I do that in kindergarten and first grade? It's early training to not... I will not question that you're bombing Iraq. I will not question that you have military bases in over 100 countries. I will not question that you have 2.5 million people in prison. If you raise kids to not critically think, whatever. I just care about my cell phone, my video games, my material possessions, because the whole world tells me that if I have Black Friday, I can just go shopping and find the right thing that's going to bring me fulfillment and happiness. And the whole world does that, but I don't think for myself. And I also don't think that change can happen. Why books are so important is because this book can teach me that one man can change the whole course of history. When I learn these stories, it gives me hope that right now we have a U.S. empire, that things doesn't have to be negative and they don't have to always be suffering. Because the last 500 years are post-Columbus. Oh, we were colonized, we were slaves. That's only 500 years. We have thousands of years of history. We have 1,000-year-old pyramids in Mexico, in Guatemala, and El Salvador that were around when white people were in caves, in the Dark Ages. They were in the Dark Ages. We were enlightened. Thousands of people will camp out for days to buy a phone. You cannot get thousands of people to camp out for days to learn their history.